How are you breathing? How are you functioning? How are you walking? I was waddling. If I was to buy an auction bag, I'd rub it across like all the dust and dirt in the bus and the London pollution. It is $500,000. That bag will be worth like, £200 after I've done using it. Hello everyone, it's Wadzi. Welcome to my first ever podcast episode called Soft Takes. It's a little unserious because I don't have a mic, but eventually I will. I'm going to try and pilot like 3 or 6 episodes, see how the reaction goes before committing. But this podcast is all about sharp opinion with soft voices. So basically a podcast mainly for women that are giving sharp opinions, and the woman be myself, because we're taking things a day at a time. I'm not promising guests. I'm literally promising you and me in my bedroom, filmed on a Canon camera and an iPhone, just the 3 of us. So the way this podcast is going to go is it goes in different segments. That's right. We're going to have an introduction where I'm catching you up on my day, my week, how I'm feeling, my mood. And then we're going to have things I'm soft for. So these could be things in my day-to-day life, whether it's like fashion stuff, beauty stuff, things that I've seen and I'd be like, oh my gosh. Next segment is in this week of soft scrolling. So this is like my girly news. Like, what have I seen that's caught my attention that I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to talk about this. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Like I would do with my friends if we went for like matcha and stuff. And then we get into the main segment, the meat of the podcast. What do I want to sit here and talk about and rant about and complain about? Well, today it's going to be the Bandage dress, the return of the Bandage dress. House of CB have brought it back for their 15-year anniversary. Wow. And in the main segment we'll also cover, yes, House of CB, the Bandage dress is back, my experience of trying on the Bandage dress at House of CB versus the OG place to get bandage dresses, which is Hervé Léger in Selfridges, what the return of bandage dresses mean for women and society. Like, what could this represent? So if that sounds all great to you, stop scrolling, keep listening to this podcast. Okay guys, so it's time for me to give you a little catch up of what's going on. Okay, the most exciting thing that I feel like I could talk about is I recently went to Cipriani. I've been wanting to go to this restaurant for so long. Me and my friend would go all the time and stop and be like, can we go in? And they'll be like, no, we're full, no, we're full. Now I understand what luxury restaurants mean when they say that they're full. It's not necessarily that they've filled up every single table for these main reasons. Number one, they want to be able to give personalized service to every single table. There was not a minute in time where like someone wasn't like peering over our table, seeing if like we need anything. Do we need more bread? Like, do we need help cutting into our pasta lobster? Like, absolutely. So always easy to get someone's attention. So that's number one. Number two, it's part of a privacy and exclusivity. I didn't feel like there was too many people close to us, and all the tables were quite separate. So there's not as many tables in the restaurant as you might think, or as many tables as there are in like other restaurants. So that's another reason why these places get super booked and full. And then number 3 is you can stay there for as long as you want. Like, me and my friend were in that restaurant for 3 hours and I never felt rushed. I never felt like we had to go. So this whole idea of like it's super pretentious, it's super ostentatious, like honestly, you don't need to super dress up a lot, and like no one is like judging you. Most people like with their families. There wasn't a lot of couples when I went. Some people with their friends, like they've kind of had a long day of shopping and now they want to have a long dinner. It's a place to go where you want to be there for like a few hours to just chill. It feels extremely safe because there's like a security guard outside, but I feel like the representation people build around it on social media is like nothing to what it actually is. You know what I mean? Like, I see girls really dress up for this place, and I don't know, maybe if you go there at 10 o'clock it's different, but like me and my friend, we went there for 7 and then it only really started to get busy at like 7:30, 9. But it's not a place that you really need to dress up for a lot. Yes, the food was delicious. There was like, I remember we got like a pasta and like a seafood pasta and it was like £50. I don't think it's worth that price. I feel like you can get the same tasting thing probably abroad in the UK. But I will say it is really hard to get delicious tasting food that isn't just a rip-off in general in London. The dessert is what the place is known for. I don't think you can get desserts like that anywhere else, like not even in Harrods or anything like that, especially their meringue cake, of course. So definitely go there for that. It feels like you're in a submarine, it feels like you're underwater, but I don't know, if I never go back there again, I will not be sad. It's literally on Deliveroo if you live within the Mayfair area, but like, yeah, I wouldn't be sad if I didn't go. But I would love to go there abroad on holiday, but it honestly feels like a place for like that I'll take my mom or my parents. Like, it feels like an old person's place. It doesn't feel like, it's not very youthful and like fun, you know. It's kind of boring, like, being there. Like, it's good food and it's like a nice vibe, but it's like a boring place to be. I don't know. Anyways, I think a lot of people like see hypes and then they go there and like they take the hype with them not realizing that actually there's not that much lure in this place. You're just adding the lure from what you've seen on Instagram. And I don't know, when I posted the video of the place, like, people are so interested in it, but honestly, there's not that much lure in there, I promise you, especially in the London one, at least. Okay, so that was like my mini catch up of going to Cipriani. Okay, things that I'm currently soft for. Kylie Skin Tint. I never thought I'd be saying any Kylie cosmetic products would be something that I'm super soft for, but I kept seeing videos, you guys might have seen them as well, of people being like, how is Kylie Cosmetics still in business? Like, who is buying them? Because I don't know anyone in my personal life that buys from Kylie Cosmetics. And a lot of people have said that. And then under all these videos, there's so many comments of people being like, try the lip liners, try the skin tints. And I got a tester of the skin tint, like in 2 shades, 9.5 and 9, and oh my gosh, like, I absolutely love them. Like, apparently a skin tint is not a BB cream, it's not a tinted moisturizer. Like, what is it? Like, what is it? Like a super runny foundation? Like, yeah, so I've been really loving that. And then surprisingly, I've been really into Avon's lip liners. They sent me some a while ago, and I've been using them quite often. So the shades that I use, I've got it on today actually, is Pink Cashmere and Simply Spice. Simply Spice is like more closer to my lip color, so you can layer it with Pink Cashmere. So I will link those below. Yeah, that's it for kind of like what I'm currently soft for. Okay, soft scrolling. What on earth have I seen on the news that makes me think, hold on a minute. The original Birkin bag, the one that Jane Birkin wore, is being auctioned at Sotheby's in Paris on the 10th of July. It's currently in New York. It's been in New York for the last few days for visitors and members of the public to see on display. But it's going to be coming to Paris and people can auction for it. So if you don't know the history of what happened to the Birkin bag once Jane Birkin no longer was wearing it anymore. Basically, in 1994, Jane Birkin donated the bag to benefit the French AIDS Charity Association. And then after, in the year 2000, the year I was born, it was acquired by Paris-based vintage collector Catherine Benier. Now, they have been questions on how much Catherine bought it for from the French AIDS charity, but she's denied giving the figures, and I just think that's probably because it was a disgusting amount of money. So yeah, so she then later loaned it to major museums. So you see, this Birkin, it's a business deal, and I feel like that, because that one was like the original one and one of the very first ones, like she had that Birkin, it's like she's like loaning it out as if she's a landlord. But I get there is costs in the upkeep of it because it's just so old. She probably has to keep it in a certain like temperature. She probably has to keep it in a certain like a glass box when she was at home. Like she probably couldn't just put it on top of her wardrobe and then like loan it out afterwards, right? She had to take like really great care of it. So it was then part of 2 theatrical art exhibitions. So the Museum of Modern Art in New York in 2018, and then the V&A Museum in London in 2020. Okay, that was COVID time. I was like, why didn't I see that? So it's she's been around, you know, she's a jet setter, this Birkin bag. So after those exhibitions, Sotheby's arranged a private journey for the bag. So yeah, basically, it'll move to Sotheby's Paris, where it'll be on view from the 3rd of July till the 9th of July. And then on the 10th of July, that's when it's being auctioned. I really want to go to this auction because I really want to see who buys this. I have had a look at Sotheby's, like, other auctionings. Like, I saw one that was for a Rolex, and it was just, like, men in suits that were, like, trying to auction this. But I'm just like, is there going to be a girly pop there in the audience, like, trying to get this? Like, a super stylish undercover woman. I know because we're in the age of social media, like, the person that buys this might just become like a socialite after this, because we are ruthless. We will find out like where you live, what you do for a living, like, you know, where do you work, like how can you afford all of this money. Whereas I think the original vintage collector that owned the bag, I can't see a lot of detail about her, but that was also in the 2000s, in the year of, you know, social media wasn't really a thing then. So I wonder whoever wins the auction will be someone who's quite public on socials or quite private. But one thing I did think is that if you do get a bag like this, it is $500,000. So it's like having an expensive piece of jewelry. So you probably do need to live in a place that's super gated and super protected, probably has security, and has a ton of rooms. Like if you got some inheritance from your grandma, luckily, I don't know, $500,000, but you don't own a private piece of land, or you don't live in a place that's like super high security, you are putting your life at risk, and you shouldn't really be buying something like that. Whoever this Catherine girl is, she's definitely living good. Wait, I think I found her Instagram. Okay, I don't know who she is, but she seems like she collects a lot of Birkins, a lot of Chanel bags. Before I saw the bag that was going to be auctioned, I remember just thinking, like, if I was to buy an auction bag, like, so many people never buy the vintage archives, whatever, that they collect. They keep it on display. But then I didn't really understand the concept that it is kind of like an art piece, and that it is quite delicate. You can't actually use it. It's not bought to be used. It's bought to be, like, I don't know, collected as an asset of, like, gosh, I don't know, if you're just, like, interested in that type of stuff. And I've never been someone who's interested in, like, collecting trinkets, like, even with the Slip Boo thing. I mean, the first ever Birkin, I wouldn't describe it as a trinket, but I've never been, like, a collector person to begin with. So that's why my first instinct was, like, yeah, if I had that, I'd wear it. And then I looked at the bag, and I was just like, after 5 wears of that, like, that's it. The value is gone. The value is gone. I would spill iced coffee in it, or there'll be gum stuck at the bottom. Like, I'd rub it across, like, all the dust and dirt in the bus and the London pollution. Like, that bag will be worth, like, you know, £200 after I've done using it. A work week in London would decrease the value of that £500,000 Birkin bag, because it must decrease the value. Like, if the Jane Birkin wore it, and then all of a sudden, like, I buy it and then I wear it and incorporate it part of my life, surely the lure goes. Whereas, like, if the original Jane Birkin wore it and then I, like, buy it and I don't ever wear it and keep it, it still has that image of the original Jane Birkin wore it and, like, that was it. So I guess it doesn't make sense to be wearing it and incorporating it. It's just there. So maybe we need her on the podcast, you know, maybe we need the original Jane Birkin, like, collector on the pod. And honestly, part of me is hoping that after it sells in its auction in Sotheby's, the hype just dies down, because I'm actually so tired of logging into TikTok and making a video about anything other than the Birkin bag, it getting 0 views. I make a video about the Birkin bag, all of a sudden everyone's my biggest fan, and it's like at 4 or 5 million views. It's like, what, can we talk about something else? Can we talk about another bag, please? Obviously we know that there's been so many articles about, like, other bags that could potentially be replacing the Birkin, like the Row, the Margaux bag. I am so sorry, there is nothing interesting about the Margaux bag from the Row. I would actually argue that the Birkin looks a bit more interesting. It's got those gold buckles. It's got something going for it. Like, the Margaux just looks like a cave. I don't know. It's like, I don't particularly like the shape. It's just, I actually like it in suede, but I don't actually know if the Row sell it in suede, or that's just, like, all the knockoffs. You can see where I shop. We're going to go into the main segment of this video while this charges. I think it's charging. Okay. And that is talking about the bandage dresses. So bandage dresses are back. Now, as a Gen Z, like, I was not around. I mean, I was around, sorry, but I was not in the era of wearing a bandage dress. That was 2007 all the way up to 2012, I believe. And what was I doing? I was in school, I was in education, I was not in the club, I was not taking, like, some buka shots, whatever. I've never participated in this, like, bandage dress fiasco, whatever. So as someone who's never lived through that, it was only right that I go to House of CB to try them on. For my girlies that were in their early 20s in 2010, 2007, 2011, how? I just have one question. How? How can you mock us for wearing our blazers in the club when you're wearing a dress that you can barely even consume any liquid without feeling like you are going to suffocate? They are, like, absurdly tight, first of all. I couldn't walk. I waddled. Like, I was literally waddling in that bandage dress. Second of all, I don't really find them that flattering. If that's what House of CB, if that's the exact, like, I don't know, material breakdown, whatever that House of CB was using back then, how are you breathing? How are you functioning? How are you walking? I was waddling. Like, seriously, that was so uncomfortable. Also, the mini dresses come up on me as midi because I'm 5'2", and the maxi dresses just look ridiculously long. So they just were not working for me. And oh my gosh, that orange one, I was like, this color is tragic. Was it orange or green? Whatever it was, I needed to take it off. It needed to be removed, right? After trying them on in House of CB, I went to Hervé Léger in Selfridges, and there was only one of the bandage dresses that was closest to me in size, and that one was so comfortable and it looked so lovely and it was so smooth. That was just my issue with the House of CB ones. They didn't look great. Now, I did have a look afterwards at some other women that had worn them and tried them on, and they looked gorgeous. I'm sure all of the girls were taller than me though, because I'm 5'2", and maybe you need to just, I don't know, wear them at the beginning of the day and hope for the best. or do a whole entire day fast. I have no idea how that dress looks flattering, but talking about fasting, a lot of people that were teenagers and young adults during that time, how the bandage dress so closely ties to diet culture and the diet cultures that were promoted and encouraged during that time, and the types of people that were encouraged during that time to wear the bandage dress. I saw an article, I think it was in Glamour, that mentioned that like back in 2010, when bandage dresses were being sold, you could not find a bandage dress larger than a size 12. So they were really encouraging like a specific type of body type and look to wear them. And they were not being silent about that, right? They were not being low-key about that. They were not being quiet about that. They were being very like outspoken about that. Like, if you are this size, like, we do not want you to wear our dresses. I'm just going to read a snippet of like something that I saw online. A little snippet of like, you know, a flashback back in time of when she started wearing the bandage dress. There was and still is a false narrative that bandage dresses were universal, flattering on all body types, and while I find the idea of body types and trends inherently toxic, it was also just not true. These dresses were rarely available in sizes larger than a 12, and I don't recall seeing a plus-size celebrity wear one. In 2010, I passed these informal tests and squeezed myself into a size 6 Karen Millen number. I couldn't afford this, but a friend could, so we rotated the dress on most weekends. The dress rotated through our friendship group like the sisterhood of the travelling pants. Except it didn't. Except it did the opposite, and only fit one homogeneous body type. We would barely eat before putting on the dress, despite heading out for long nights of underage clubbing and house parties. I remember sneaking into my friend's kitchen one night in the search of toast after finally releasing myself from the shackles of the dress. Able to breathe properly for the first time in 10 hours. Bandage dresses ultimately were companions to diet culture, and it's no coincidence that they're trending again now. We're in one phase of societal obsession with thinness, a rapid one. And fat phobia often walks hand in hand with the global shift to the political right and the rise of fascism. Kate Main, feminist philosopher, recently wrote in her Substack about this correlation. The rise of authoritism and the way women can signal their defense to the powers that be by conforming to a certain ideal of conventional femininity. The ideal woman today is very thin, white, highly feminine, and projects a certain frailty without actually being ill or disabled. She is Melania Trump. She's Hannah Nealman of Ballerina Farms. She's a tradwife. She's a woman whom the men in power will happily date and marry. Partly because her appearance telegraphs wealth and health and effort, and her frail body suggests someone in need of a strong man's protection. So what she's basically saying is this bandage dress literally relates and ties in to what was happening back in 2010, the standards that women had and the expectations women had in 2010. And she said that it's no coincidence that this is trending now, because all the trends and the expectations of women back in 2010 are kind of being relived again now in the era of fascism, in the era of Trump, in the era of beauty standards reverting back to being white, thin, and having a homogeneous body type. It also highlights the rise of skinny talk, which is now blocked on TikTok, and how it's a growing obsession, a cultural obsession with, oh my gosh, I feel like Ozempic injections, plus size public figures shrinking into unison, world powers dominated by men, attempting to roll back the rights of women, people of colour, and LGBTQIA+ communities. And a peak in online fat phobia, the return of the bandage dress feels like yet another blow. Death by 1,000 cults. It might seem like just a dress, but it never is just a dress. Fashion trends for women are never created or pushed without motive. And the overwhelming messaging right now is that we should shrink our bodies, our autonomy, our opinions. Don't get bandaged into the propaganda. Don't get bandaged into propaganda, guys. That is so true. All of this stuff that she's mentioned is so true of what's going on and what's pushed and what's being idealized. But it's so interesting because a lot of younger people that are doing this, we were like so young when this stuff was like very prominent, right? Or we were not even alive when women had a lot less autonomy than they do today, right? So we're idealizing it and we're wishing for it and we're wanting it, but we don't realize the baggage it comes from, right? Don't people realize like what things they're asking to take away? You know, like you wanting someone to completely look after you, whatever, is there are other rights that you cannot have, like your freedom of speech, your ability to speak your truth online and open up or whatever. All that's going to be gone. Because, you know, if someone else, if you've put your hands in someone else to take care of you and look after you, what you've got to say automatically means nothing, because you don't hold the power anymore. So yeah, I feel like that's really interesting. I really haven't heard anyone deep dive into bandage dresses and what they represent and how it looked to wear a bandage dress back in the 2010s. I've mainly seen the girlies go and try one on. So I feel like I'm going to make a little TikTok about this. If you're watching this part of the podcast, there'll be a TikTok where I talk a bit more about this, but I wanted to highlight it in this video because I think it's important. Obviously I've given my opinion of me going to try it on. Yeah, I don't know what was the biggest size in Hervé Léger, but I could only guess it probably wasn't that large. But yes, guys, thank you so much for listening to my first ever podcast of Soft Takes. I hope you enjoy, and be sure to comment down your thoughts and what you'd like to hear me talk about next. Bye!